for me a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for having me and for coming tonight. Welcome also those of you who are listening online. Manifestation. In truth, I'm going to talk to you tonight about the blockages for manifestation, because sometimes I think about us as birds, and I imagine us trying to tell a bird how to be a bird and how to manifest being a bird. Of course, it sounds ridiculous, because it is. The bird also would not stop and hear. It would be building a nest or doing something else or flying around. But we humans, and we human Homo sapiens, particularly since the cognitive revolution about 30,000 years ago, we have certainly departed from the natural ways. We have moved out from just being human. And I believe that this is why I am here today, to talk to you about how yoga can help us manifest our full self, a self that we can only be. We can't be anything but ourselves. We can't be anything but these souls. And, excuse me, this is, can you believe this? Today has been a challenging day in terms of material life, I have to say. All right. Well, so I would like to share with you something about something that the Upanishads say. So many times we have referred to those scriptures for knowledge, for understanding, for guidance. And in this case, the Upanishad states, you are what your deepest desire is. As your desire is, so is your intention. As your intention is, so is your will. As your will is, so is your deed. As your deed is, so is your destiny. This will be a little bit of the guiding knowledge of today's talk. I would like us to understand where this need for manifestation, how this manifestation that is a perceptible outward or visible expression that embodies something abstract or theoretical. So it's an outward expression. It's not something that we keep inside, that we already are, but that we manifest. Could be an idea, could be a thing, a creation. And we all come to this life to manifest our journey. It is understood that our souls, in their journey of evolution and in their journey of going back to eternal bliss, to permanent stability, to the original Prajapati that once defragmented itself and created all the atoms of the universe, everything that is in existence. We are souls going back to that union. And we come to this life to do just that. The problem is that we have a lot of things that impede our manifestation, the manifestation of our Dharma, of our journey. A lot of things that interrupt our ability to be so. Let's just take a moment to close our eyes, place our hands on our knees with the palms facing up, and And take a moment with your eyes closed, and if you don't want to close your eyes, you can bring your sight 45 degrees on the floor and leave it there. Bring the awareness to your breath. And feel both the inhalation and the exhalation. Don't practice any particular technique, simply be present for your breath. For that breath that is our life. The essential unit of life, one breath in and one breath out. A unit composed of two opposites, integrated, working together. We receive this life, for nothing we can do to buy it or to get it. Only we can receive it. And be present for both. I'm going to now ask you to inhale deeply and to hold your in-breath for 10 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Exhale. Continue breathing normally. And I am now going to ask you the opposite, to retain your exhalation. So please exhale completely, and for just 10 seconds, retain your out breath. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And now inhale. Go back to your regular breath and notice the discomfort that you felt. Notice if the discomfort when you held the in-breath was bigger or smaller than when you held the out-breath. And now open your eyes. Thank you. It is rather uncomfortable to hold the in-breath or the out-breath, isn't it? Is it or not? All of a sudden we feel an urge to breathe, an urge to be. And that is the urge that I think we feel to be, to manifest our full potential, a potential that we come to this life with, just as the birds, just as the fish, just as everything else, with an urge to be. And then in life, and throughout life, and particularly when we start our life, perhaps guided by cultural backgrounds or by our family dynamics, or by gender-related expectations, we transform that urge, and we put that urge down a little bit. We control that urge to live. So what we are doing here now that I'm talking and what we're going to do these days is to practice some techniques that help us develop that urge that we all have, that each one of us have, and that for one reason or another, we have let go of, we have decided not to necessarily fulfill. Now, we come to our full potential already. This is why I'm saying that I am not here to tell us how to be, because we already are, but how to stop not being, how to not restrict that full potential that we bring. Let's think that when we come to life, a newborn is born, and the newborn opens the eyes can see. And those eyes don't need to go to a course of differentiation between day sight and night sight, or between color sight and black and white sight. The eyes see. And like that, we come fully equipped to live our lives. For some reason, called the greatest cosmic joke, we have forgotten. And that's why then we seek masters, we go to therapy, we come to the ashram, we practice yoga to remember how to be, to remember who we are. In Uruguay, we have a saying that says that to have a life is to plant a tree, to write a book, and to bring up a child. Beautiful image. And once this was presented to my spiritual master, Prengpal Singh Rabat, Guru Maharaji, and he was asked this, and he smiled and he said, life is one breath in and one breath out. Those others, the book, the child, and the tree, are manifestations of life, but not life itself. They're just manifestations of life. If you don't have that breath, if you don't have that energy, nothing you can do. Now, even those simple manifestations of life, or more complicated ones or less complicated ones, they all share some certain principles for manifestation. And those principles are first, to have available energy. The word energy comes from the Greek energia, and it means a fundamental entity of nature that is transferred between parts of a system in the production of physical change. It has to be transformed. There has to be a transformation. Just like a car works based on the combustion, that is what makes it go, or a boombox that transforms electrical energy in sound, in vibration of sound. Energy is necessary for the manifestation of our full potential, not the limited potential, not that potential that we came accustomed to develop and to manifest based on all those things that I mentioned before, the cultural background and all these things, but rather our fullness. And let's understand that I'm not meaning to get to have a degree or to get to build a building or those things which are manifestations as well of who we can be. But the true manifestation that we're talking about is the manifestation of ourselves as spiritual beings, is the manifestation of our journey in life. If our souls, through different reincarnations, come to this earth to complete certain parts of the journey in order to evolve, in order to complete that reunion with the divine, in each one of those, we have something to manifest, something to develop. And that is the manifestation I'm talking about, the fullness of ourselves. And so second, we need to know what we want, or to have an idea, to have an objective, to have an idea of what that journey is, what that mission is that a soul has. And the third principle is to be creative to implement strategies, because life itself is going to present us with a lot of challenges, with a lot of things that we have to overcome in order to achieve that manifestation. So when thinking where to look for this, I first practiced Pawan Muktasana, a wonderful technique from the Tantra yoga that was brought back to light by Swami Satyananda, who was a disciple of Swami Shivananda. And he brought them back, he took them back from some ancient sources, and he developed them, and he taught us those series. And of course, looking for where to manifest this essence that we are, nowhere better than yoga, because yoga, in my opinion, is like the manual for life. It's a little bit like we can come to life, like if we buy a bicycle and it comes in a box, and if we understand how to, we can put together the bicycle and somehow get somewhere in some time. But if we don't know, it may take us a month to put that bicycle together. Now, if we go to the manual and there is one, we may be biking that very night. And so that is many times the feeling I have about yoga, which is the manual for life, the pages where we can go and seek how to live a better life, how to have a better journey here on earth. So in the manual of yoga, there are this perfect three techniques, three series, Pawan Muktasana. The word Pawan is divine wind. The word Mukta is to free, to liberate, and the word Asana, postures. So these are postures to free the flow of divine wind. A beautiful name for the breath, divine wind. And the Pawan Muktasana series are three. And interestingly enough, they exactly correspond to these three principles of manifestation that I mentioned before: to have available energy, to know, to have a direction, to know what we want, and to be creative in order to develop what we need to develop. So the first one, Pawan Muktasana number 1, is sometimes called the joint freeing series, and it consists of a lot of movements of each one of our joints to make the life force flow. Because every time the life force gets blocked, it results in a symptom, it results in illness. Every illness is a representation of some sort of blockage of energy. And so this technique, going joint by joint, promotes the flow of life force. Interestingly enough, today we know that the life force goes from the head to the toes and from the center to the periphery. And this practice to unblock the life force goes from the toes to the head and from the periphery to the center. I have an interesting story about this technique. I once had an accident. A drunk driver hit the door in my car, and I broke all my ribs on the left side, and some in the front and some in the back as well. So for those of you who have had broken ribs, you know it's really terrible. You cannot move without involving your rib cage. And therefore, when they're broken, it's a lot of pain. And I was starting to recover at the hospital, and then all of a sudden, I have the doctors come to the bed side, and they tell me, "What are you doing?" I was like, well, what do you mean? Well, we have never seen somebody recovering so fast. So what? Somebody's bringing you some pills or something is happening. And I said, no, I'm not. I'm doing a yoga technique. And they said, oh, yeah, okay. And then they were so interested when they came back at some point and I was more recovered, they asked me to teach this technique to other people in the same floor in the hospital where I was. So I had a first-hand experience of how potent this technique is. And also, I know now that is the base of yoga therapy. It's like the first thing that we all do in yoga therapy, because you cannot heal if the life force is not moving. If the life force is blocked, then there is no possible healing, or the healing is partial. And so just the same for this manifestation process, the first thing that we need to do is to have this life force flowing. And then comes, so in that sense, we can say that Pawan Muktasana number 1 ready us for the manifestation of our full potential, of who we really want to be. Then comes Pawan Muktasana number 2, which is a beautiful series that relates to the Hara, or the willpower center. Yesterday, when I was hearing the Swami speak, and he spoke about will, he introduced me to this great book, Sure Ways for Success in Life and Good Realization, by Swami Shivananda. And interestingly enough, I would like to read something to you, which I... Give me one moment. Will is dynamic soul force, says the Swami. Will, if it is rendered pure and irresistible, can work wonders. There is nothing impossible for a man of strong will to achieve in this world. The will has become impure and weak through desires. And when I heard this, I saw the truth in it, and there are so many things that can make our will be weak. What are some of those things, if you were to think of them? Think with me. What is it that can block our willpower? Doubts, certainly. Doubts of ours, of ourselves, but also people that doubt us, that don't. Okay. Amazing. Today has been a very interesting day. I have to say, well, yes, technological problems can, for example, also clog our will. Inspired by this words that I heard from him today, I was having problems with the computer, all kinds of problems. And Word was not working, and I was not being able to do anything. And I got a little bit desperate, so I came out and I talked to Narayani, third person I talked in the day. I said, Narayani, can you help me? She goes, well, yes, why don't you try to quit? I said, I forced quit. Yes, I did. Well, why don't you restart your computer? I did twice. Well, why don't you shut it down? And then I said, I did that 2 times as well. And she was on her way to teach a workshop. And so she said, well, okay, that's what I do usually. I hope you can find a solution. Okay. Then by the time she came back from the workshop, I was still trying to deal with this. And I remember that when we have a true desire and when we really focus our will, there's nothing we cannot do. So I asked Narayani, and no, her. Yes, I asked one of the staff members that I can't pronounce her name well. And I told them, hey, listen, could you please put your hands in my computer? And let's really hope that it happens. And we did, and it worked. It worked for the rest of the day until this moment that for some reason, support, Apple, go, ask, well, who knows? But it was a beautiful example of how will can be applied. Now, what else can clog our, what else can clog, do you think, our will? Give me some more examples. What? I can't hear. Temptations, yes, many temptations of all sorts. It's so hot that I can't keep them, I can't see. Temptations, yes, thank you, that would be wonderful. Yes. Well, addictions, for example, can clog our willpower as well. Certain companies, not because we're going to necessarily do what they do, but yes, but we are gregarious animals. We are people that live together. We are animals that live together. We're not solo animals. And so certainly bad company or company that can affect us in a negative way also can weaken or unclog our willpower. What else? What? Fear. Certainly, fear can weaken our willpower as well. Yes. And so in yoga, we have this technique, Pawan Muktasana number 2, that through a lot of movement of the abdominal muscles, because it is understood that the willpower center is located 4 fingers under the belly button and 4.5 inches going in. It's called the hara, or the Tantien for Chinese medicine, or the key point for Japanese medicine, or in the West, it's called the phrenic point. And it may sound familiar to you because one of the most difficult psychoses that we deal with is schizophrenia, which is a partition at the level of the phrenic point. And in that sense, people who are schizophrenic cannot relate the lower half, the relationship that they have with the earth, with grounding, with what they do with the material life, with the upper part and their feelings and thoughts. And so this point is very important. And this technique, number 2, Pawan Muktasana, what it does is through a series of movements that sometimes press the area and sometimes stretch the area, they help us unclog the willpower system. And in that sense, it allows us to get ready for that manifestation. Then comes Pawan Muktasana number 3. Pawan Muktasana number 3 is called Shakti Bandha, is the awakening of the creative force, like a key, a lock to the creative force. The Shakti is understood to be the energy that runs this universe one way or another. This is why in some schools it's called creation. And number 3, which is the most difficult of the 3 series, that is what it does. What it does is to clean the creative energy within ourselves through a lot of movements in the pelvis. The pelvic area is very much related to creativity, particularly to creativity regarding survival. This is why babies come through the pelvic area. Babies are made in the pelvic area. It's a little bit where we play being the creators. And so a lot of times when we are troubled in terms of finding creative ways of dealing with the challenges, with the problems that life presents us in order to manifest who we are, moving this area and actively activating it can help us access that creative force that we all have and that sometimes lies dormant within each one of us. These 3 series, in my opinion, are an optimum way to manifest who we are, because they provide us with those 3 elements that help us address the principles of manifestation. They allow us to have available force, running, circulating life force, know and understand what is it that we want, and clean our willpower system so we can put our energy to work towards manifesting it. And lastly, helps us be creative in regards to how to deal with the different challenges that life will present us. There are some other techniques as well in that we can practice because we understand that life is not something that just happens. We're not walking in a city and all of a sudden we stumble upon a table and a waiter brings us a salad and we had lunch. That's not the way that life happens. Life happens rather by us having an idea first, an idea that then motivates us to find resources. Then we are hungry, we have the idea of eating, we choose a restaurant, we ask for the menu, we ask for a salad, and that's how we have lunch. And there is a wonderful way in yoga, a wonderful practice in yoga, to plant the seed of what we want in our mind, to give us a kickstarter for that idea that will end up in manifestation. It's called sankalpa. And many times sankalpa is translated as intention. And it's a good translation because we do have intentions and sankalpa relate to it. But there is another translation, which is resolve, that I like more because it seems to be, to me, it seems more potent, stronger. And in sankalpa, what we do is to identify what is it that we want, and then come up with a sankalpa, come up with a statement that we can repeat, and by repetition, we start to planting it in our minds. This sankalpa, of course, needs to be in the present tense. Many times we make sankalpas that are in the future and we say, I will be happy. And of course, then life helps us manifest almost happiness, but not really, you will be happy. And again, some almost happy, not really, you will be happy. So it has to be in the present tense. I am happy. The second rule is that we do not use words of negative connotation or the word no. So if our intention is to be happy, we don't say, I am not unhappy. Because, of course, we are, number one, saying no, and then we're naming unhappy, and that's what we're going to attract. So it needs to be, I am happy. The third rule relates to how we practice it. And it says that we have to be spiritually present in each part of the repetition. Not say something like, I am happy. What are you? Or I'm happy. Who is happy? So we need to be very clear. It's very helpful in the manifestation of our dreams, of the deep desires of our heart, of those things that we came here to do. And to exemplify how important it is to be clear, I'd like to tell you a story. There was a couple that used to walk together, and they were both 60 years old. They have been married for 40 years. They know each other very well. They have been walking in the park and in the woods, and they find a genie lamp. And so, of course, they rub the genie lamp, and here comes out the genie and says, lady, your wishes shall be granted. What would you like? And the lady says, I would like to have enough money to go with my husband twice around the world. And the genie goes, ding, 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 gives her a beautiful suitcase with enough money to go with her husband around the world twice. Remember, they were both 60 years old. And the genie turns to the man and says, and you, sir, your wishes too shall be granted. What would you like? And he says, I'd like to have a wife 30 years younger. And the genie goes, din, 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 and turns the man into a 90-year-old guy. So be careful what you ask for, because it is coming just as you ask for it. Now, not only we have the help of yoga for the manifestation of our full potential, we also have the help of a principle that the universe is based on, which is called pronoia. P-R-O-N-O-I-A. Pronoia is the opposite word of paranoia, as you can see. And pronoia says that the universe is conspiring in our highest good. So there is a natural force in the universe, in creation, that is help us manifest what we want. Is that thing that happens sometimes that, let's say you want to have a new car and you want a white car. And so number one, you start noticing all the white cars that are there. There are more and more white cars. And then all of a sudden our aunt can't drive anymore and she gives us her car. And guess what? The car is white. So there are a lot of ways in which this manifests itself, in which this pronoia principle influences our lives. Now, of course, it doesn't mean that we just have to sit and wait. We have to be able to ask. We have to be able to be humble enough to ask for what is it that we want. And not always we are. And that is how then pronoia helps us once we know. And whatever we know is what's going to be helped. That's the problem. If we want to be a thief, pronoia may help us be the best possible thief. So it all comes back again to our intention, to what is it that we want, to what is it that we feel and think that we are here to do. And for that, obviously, we have to overcome those limitations that we started with, that became part of our identity. Those cultural backgrounds, those family traits, and even those gender-based expectations that have been placed upon us, and that at some point we have to overcome to achieve our potential, a potential that we came to this life with, and that we will have to do. Our journey here, even if we don't do it in this life, we're going to have to come in another life to do it again. So this is why it's worth doing it now, that we have the opportunity, that we have the energy, and that we can do it. There's a beautiful expression of pronoia that Goethe, the philosopher, the German philosopher, spoke about, and I wish I could read it to you directly as I expected, but I think I can remember it. And he says that all sorts of things happen to assist one when one knows what one wants. All sorts of material and spiritual and energetic assistances that allow us to do it. But it all starts with one thing, and it's commitment. It is the commitment that then sparks and puts all that work to help us manifest who we are. And what a place of commitment we are in here at the ashram. So this is the right place to be for commitment. And it is my wish that in these 3 days where I'm going to be teaching these 3 Pawan Muktasanas to everybody that wants to come and learn them. And in addition, for those of you who are here for the retreat, we're going to be meeting to make it a little bit more specific to your own life, to find exactly a little bit more what is it that you want, and to practice a few additional techniques such as Sankalpa and a few others to complement the 3 Pawan Muktasanas. And I wish I could say and walk out of here fully manifested, but that's not what's going to happen. But we are going to be in a better place, or at least with a better direction. So, do you have any question? Yes, I know. Any question?
Hi. So what role does gratification or gratitude play in this? Is there a role for gratitude? Or Is that
Yeah,
involved?
gratitude and gratification, they're two different things.
I
But
said the wrong word.
interestingly enough, they both are involved. Uh, Gratitude, well, of course, because we can be grateful for having this life, for having this is definitely a gift. Life is not something that we can buy or that we can bargain for or that even we can retain. One day we'll all lose this life that we have and that is being given to us, that we did nothing to have. So perhaps just starting by the gratitude of having the opportunity. And then I also think that the gratitude for being a seeker. So many of us just go through life without knowing that we have an opportunity and that we can do a lot with that life. So many of us go through our lives fulfilling those expectations, addressing those backgrounds, meeting those different expectations and ideas that we have been given. So sometimes when we take a moment to think what to do and how to do it and why to do it, that itself could be something that we can be grateful for. And then definitely grateful for pranoia, for the assistance of the divine. Because so many times we feel alone. Comes to my mind those times that story of the person that was died and went to God and asked, God, I look back to my footprints, and in the journey of my life, I many times see four. I know you were with me, and then in the hardest moments, I only see two. Why have you abandoned me? And God said, abandoned you? Those are my footprints. I was carrying you. So it is wonderful to be in a universe that can hold us, to be in an entity that we are all part of and that we can rely. And particularly for this work also, the manual, to have a manual, to have yoga in our lives. So many times we are disappointed with friends, with institutions, with things, particularly now that everything is so guided by marketing and that they promise us that we're going to get this and that and that and the other, and then we don't. And very much contrary to that, yoga is such a steady, permanent, always there body of knowledge where we can go and look for these pages and browse through these pages of knowledge and understand how to live better. So many things to be grateful for. Any other question? All right. Then, having no question, I thank you all for having listened today.